Hello, beautiful community. Just watching a short from Alistair Campbell on the Rest is Politics channel, and Alistair is talking about the latest party political ad from the UK Labour Party. We're going to watch it together, and we're going to react and critique the communication in it. Why does this matter? It matters because centrist technocratic political parties that are reasonably well-intentioned are spectacularly failing to connect with voters all over the West, amidst a huge crisis of trust in political institutions, the biggest crisis of trust in institutions probably since the European revolutions in 1848. Now, Alistair says here that there's a few things the Labour Party are doing well. They're communicating about these things, but the message is not getting out enough. So they need to communicate more, they need to communicate better, and so on. Well, let's watch and try to give a more detailed analysis of what goes wrong and what could be done better.
Hi there, Alistair here. I don't know.
Homes and infrastructure.
Let's watch from the beginning.
Things have been tough in Britain for a while, but change is coming. Because this year, you will start to see the benefit of Labour's decisions in your community.
No, because in the crisis of trust, making promises before giving acknowledgement actually feels painful, feels like spin. So you need to start with how voters feel. It's been hard for a while, isn't enough. And change is coming, just a couple of words later, is a turn toward promises of what you're going to do that comes too soon. You need acknowledgement first. So this first, 10, 20 seconds of the ad are actually going to cause pain to people watching. It feels painful. You feel insufficiently heard, and you feel a little bit gaslit.
You'll see new homes and infrastructure, more neighbourhood police in your streets, hundreds of school-based nurseries opening next September, immigration, NHS waiting times, child poverty. They are already coming down, and they'll come down even more.
This is good, but it's also a technocratic spreadsheet of stuff you're going to do. The problem is that you need two more things on top of that. You need the acknowledgement that we've just mentioned, but you also need process. You need a kind of a picture from the side that shows the mechanics of how you're doing this. Otherwise, you're not going to gain people's attention, not going to gain people's trust. So yes, you need to make the promises. You also need to show the process, right? What does it look like? Why should we trust that you're going to do anything effectively? And then we need acknowledgement. Unless you bring the three together, and you can't do that in one or two sentences, you're going to leave people frustrated. You're going to leave people wanting more. You're going to leave people feeling that, they've been read some kind of short list that some committee generated. It doesn't necessarily speak to the reality, even though each of the policy actions might actually be benign and good.
And you'll see a difference in your pay packet as Labour supports you against the cost of living crisis.
I think here we need to understand just how deeply a voter is bound to disbelieve and not trust. So we need something that says, I know that you might not believe this, but we're really doing this. Here is the evidence. Here is where you can go to have a look for yourself.
Rail fares, prescription charges, fuel duty, all frozen. Free childcare expanded. £150 cut off your energy bills. And a big boost, once again, to the national minimum wage. But look more closely, and you will also see something.
By the way, I need Keir in this video, or I need some other members of the cabinet in this video. This kind of narration is not working. It's not giving us enough sort of honest, in the room, authentic realism.
Even more important than this, because while Britain struggled, some politicians have tried to exploit your problems, not to solve them. Politicians who tell you that Britain is broken and who want to talk this great country down. But when things start to get better, when we
this really doesn't work, because it reframes anger as manipulation too quickly. It reframes anger citizens feel too quickly as a sort of a lack of virtue, a lack of skill on the part of the citizen who have ended up wrongly falling for the manipulations of Nigel Farage. So what you feel here is that your mistrust is being managed rather than understood. What you feel from these few seconds of tape is that some people got in the room and they said, well, look, all of these voters, potentially our voters, are going over to Nigel Farage. Aren't they stupid because he is a post-truth, authoritarian, self-advancing political entrepreneur? Sure, that's all true about Farage. But they're really dumb to go over to him. So what do we tell them to make them see that that's a really stupid thing to do? And you feel that that's what's going on here. And you can't speak like that to voters. You have to understand how they feel. That has to come first. Second, can you then take a pop? Yeah, you can. But you've got to do it in a way that centers the understandable loss of trust. So you can say, yes, there's understandable loss of trust because you feel politics has failed you and you feel that politics doesn't even make sense anymore. Political institutions are opaque to you. And of course, in an environment like that, you'd better watch out for repulsive, irresponsible, manipulative political actors taking predatory actions to take advantage of you. Don't fall for that, right? That's very inarticulate and verbose from me, but you could condense this into a sentence that starts by centering the loss of trust, right? Rather than centering the way citizens need to wise up and stop falling, for the tricks of these irresponsible politicians. And if you do it like that, you can even have a pop at Farage himself. He is a so lying disgrace. And if you do it in this correct order, it won't look like you're having a pop at Farage without yourself being able to, seriously engage with the problems that the country faces.
Choose renewal, not grievance. Show that our problems can be solved.
So renewal is going to be very grating to millions of Brits. Can you get away with renewal as your message? Yes, you can. But you need to communicate really well around it. If you do that, funnily enough, you can get away with almost any message. You can call your program bananas. We're going to send Britain bananas. Well, that could work if you communicate well around it. But unless you do, renewal risks sounding like somebody going to the doctor with a significant health challenge and the doctor's saying, we'll just renew your health, as though we're in the realm of kind of health optimization rather than, management of a serious illness that needs cure, that needs to be addressed. So renewal risks feeling like gaslighting unless you communicate really well around it, because it feels too readily like a dismissal of grievances.
And that the future is in our control.
It's too late for Labour to get rid of renewal. They're rolling with it, but they need to communicate really strongly around it so it doesn't come across like a kind of, excessively easy disregard for the alienation voters feel.
Then the real Britain can shine through. The Britain of boundless creativity.
Too much Canva. I mean, this looks like, this is real, but it looks like it's an image a video I could download from Canva. This looks like a sort of Kumbaya 1999 video. Whereas you need behind the scenes realism. Got to show real Brits going about their day, or you've got to show Keir Starmer or members of the cabinet at home or doing their work. This is too branded to not feel like voters are being gaslit with something that's nicely packaged but doesn't have the substance.
Activity of pride and grit, of culture, music, art and sporting brilliance, of world-class educators, fearless entrepreneurs, tireless community champions.
This just doesn't sound right. Why does it not sound right? Because it centers resilience. Again, too quickly. It gives us sort of premature closure. Resilience talk can work after you've restored trust a bit. But if you do resilience talk before you've done anything in the message to try to restore trust, it just sounds like you're gaslighting people. Again, this is the wrong order.
And public servants that do us all proud. A Britain that has always weathered the storms of...
By the way, you can't say storms and then show storms. You either show them or you say it. It's a bit like a pop star singing, "I raise my arms up in the air." If a pop star sings it, they can't raise their arms up in the air at the same time because it creates a clash. And it's sentimental.
History, stuck to its decent, compassionate, tolerant values. And above all, a Britain that is confident that if we unlock the potential of every single person and every single community.
Yeah. So you want the understanding to be conveyed that you get why people have lost trust, why they feel alienated from the idea that Britain might be great. You've got to center that. Saying that Britain is great without centering it doesn't work.
Then the future belongs to us. This year, in every corner of this country, that is what Labour is building. So let's renew Britain together.
I want some inside the room honesty here. I want Keir at work, surrounded by papers, people, events, and then taking a moment to speak to us. I want maybe Keir, having his morning tea. I don't want him standing in a suit with a flag.
Together.
Basically, this ad mistakes reassurance for recognition. It tries to give reassurance without giving recognition first. And in that order, it's just not going to work. And it gives you the feeling that your distrust is being managed rather than understood. So what's really important isn't just that you've got to communicate well, right, if you want to be a party of government. It's that you've got to understand the value of communication in an age where we've got an extraordinary crisis of trust. Because I happen to think that Keir Starmer might be neurodiverse. And one of the elements of that is that he's very strong on being clear about his integrity. But another element of this is that it's hard for Keir to see why communication is so important. It's not that he's not good at it, it's that he fundamentally doesn't see that it's really important. He thinks you need to do it, but fundamentally it's about doing the right things for Britain, which are A, B, C, Keir, communicate. No, because A and B and C need to be, and we'll speak about what they are and why they matter, but we've got to do these things because we've got to get Britain moving. Keir, we've got a raging crisis of trust. Over-communicate. The more raging the crisis of trust, the more you and everybody in your cabinet has to over-index on over-communication. And if you can't do that, get others in your cabinet to do it. Over-communication is itself an important political action in our age. It's not a supplement to the action you take. It's arguably more important than any other single action you can take. because no action you take will work unless you over-communicate and do so as effectively as you possibly can. And you fundamentally, at a kind of bodily level, understand the urgent imperative for communicating well with citizens. Unless you grasp that, you're going to be a prop, right? That's going to generate electoral victories for post-truth authoritarian charlatans like Nigel Farage, at whom this ad had, in my view, a counterproductive pop. I hope this was of some value. We'll talk much more about this, and I'm planning a main channel video, perhaps the next few weeks, about how you thread the needle, about what it means to be an electable but institutional, constitutional, responsible political actor in a post-truth populist age. Let's talk soon.